Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running and nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and everyone out there, I hope you're doing well and you are ready for some Computer America. So today on the program, we have a full hour of computer and technology news. And hey, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's been a little while since we've covered the news. Things are actually starting to happen, so we are happy to bring these segments back to you. So before we get started, first things first, of course, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything that we do, past shows, future shows, podcasts, articles, reviews, topics, videos, archives, and more. All that at computeramerica.com. Be sure to check that out. You can also find us on social media at Computer America on all the different platforms. And last but not least, twitch.tv/Computer America if you'd like to watch the show as well as listen to the show. We, of course, try to make everything as optimized as possible for easy listening. But if you feel like you'd get a little bit more out of the video portion, we think you would too. And hey, we definitely encourage, we definitely encourage you to do that. So with that being said, today's guest, unfortunately, wasn't able to make it, but hey, there's still hope. I'm sorry. Here we go. And, I'm sorry. Computer technology news, but we will be doing computer technology news with Mike Cermak, who I just got, the email from, and we're going to go ahead, launch a Zoom here in the background and try to do this all at once. And hopefully this all goes swimmingly, because normally I have this done before the show, and now I have to do it during, but that's no one's fault. That's just the fun of all of this. So let's go ahead and let's see. We're going to do this, and then we're going to invite, and let's see, copy that, and let's go ahead and do that. Okay. So now, Mike Cermak actually should be joining us here in just a moment if you're ready for him. If you haven't heard about Mike Cermak, then where have you been? He's been one of our longest, if not the longest, Computer America correspondent. And hey, he's of course always been a fantastic guy to talk to, all about relevant news. He runs techguy.org. If you go over to computeramerica.com, at the top there's tech support. Our tech support link redirects you directly to techguy.org. And hey, that's where we send everyone who asks us, if we can't help you here on the show, if we can't help you behind the scenes, then we send you over there. They have a great community full of helpful people. And really, hey, it really is just that. I know that a lot of people during the lockdown have been looking for ways to remain social. And if you have a passion for technology, and let's face it, if you're listening to Computer America, you have a passion that is rival to no one, then hey, techguy.org, definitely a great place and a fun place to check out. So with that being said, we're waiting for Mike Cermak, and he sent over a number of stories that we're definitely going to check out. But I think while we wait for him, we're going to go ahead and get started with computer and technology news, and that's brought to you by Computer America. Here we go. All right, right. So, as I said before, maybe sometime in the middle of this, we might actually, have Mike Cermak drop in on us. But we're going to go ahead and get started. Tons of different stories to talk about. And I think we're going to go ahead and talk about, actually, we're going to go ahead and get Mike Cermak in here, and then we're going to start talking. So hopefully he can hear me. He should be on mute. But Mike, welcome on to Compute America. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, you sound perfect right off the bat. That's perfect because hey, we're doing this. Very, very. Hey, how you doing, Mike? Welcome back on to Compute America.
Thank you very much, sir. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. And hey, we can see you. Everything looks good. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and get that started. But I told everyone about techguy.org. Definitely go check that out. And we were just about to get into computer and technology news. And I have a list of stories. You have a list of stories. The story that I was going to, kind of start with. And I'm not sure if, actually, it is on your list. So because it's on your list, and I was going to start with it. Facebook and their hacking tool and what they're doing with it in FBI. And, this actually reminds me like a lot of what happened with Apple. And, Apple, although I think Apple took a very different stance to the FBI when it came to spying on its users and its data and that kind of thing. But the way around that was hiring a third party, accessing the data in a completely different manner. And yet it was still handed over to the FBI, which... hey, at the end of the day, that's okay if both companies can still retain the moral high ground. So I think that's what we have here. Let's go ahead and start talking about this one. What caught your attention about this story about Facebook?
Oh my, well, what didn't, right? So there's this guy in California who's been harassing and terrorizing young girls and extorting them and doing terrible things, making threats and threatening to shoot up schools and things like that. And they've been trying to track him down, but he's been pretty good about trying to hide his identity and using the privacy tools that we might recommend for people not doing terrible things. And so Facebook paid this third-party security expert to develop a way to find out who this guy really is. He uses this system called Tails, an operating system that's known for privacy and security. Mm-hmm. And they discovered a new vulnerability that they could take advantage of, where if he plays a video, it will expose his real IP address, if done in a certain way, of course. So they paid a lot of money for the security researchers to figure this out, and they kind of secretly handed it over to the FBI through a third party, and the FBI tracked him down and got him. So the end result is definitely something we all want. I don't think there's any question about that. We want the FBI to be able to track these people down, I think. Mm-hmm. But the question that it really brings up is how much should Facebook be involved in that? Should Facebook be involved in paying a third party to be able to hack one of their users? And that's where it becomes a little bit more of a gray area. And that's created a little bit of controversy. I think that the nature of the story and the nature of what he was doing gives him very little sympathy. So there isn't that much controversy, but it's an interesting one that Facebook was that involved in hacking someone's computer, essentially.
Yeah, it's and like you said, it's hard to argue with what the end result was, which is getting this person, catching the person who's doing these awful things to these girls. And that's all well and good. But then, of course, it opens up lately with technology, it seems like we ask this question all the time. What is the future of this? What is the future of, these kinds of tactics? And I guess it's, I don't know. It kind of surprises me to a certain extent that Facebook couldn't do this without the third party and the development of this, kind of booby trap video and that kind of thing. That was kind of what stood out to me was Facebook couldn't handle this, without setting up traps and being devious.
It bothers you that they couldn't do that? Is that what you said?
It's interesting. It doesn't bother me. I find it interesting.
So certainly there's easy ways, as you know, obviously, but for listeners to be able to hide your IP address and hide your identity from Facebook. Most users don't go to that trouble, which is why Facebook's able to make so much money on advertising. But if you were to use a VPN and different things that would try and hide your identity and hide where you're coming from, Facebook wouldn't be able to tell that, you're where you are and I'm where I am. But
Mm-hmm.
and there are vulnerabilities that, which maybe this drops into the eBay story a little bit as well, but there's other ways that Facebook can use to try to identify you and your location and things like that. And they usually use it for, advertisements. I mean, that's what Facebook is for. It's interesting that they went to this extent to try and get this guy. I mean, it almost seems like something Facebook wouldn't care about. That, sure, it's a bad guy doing terrible things, but it's not their problem.
Right.
That it's kind of interesting in that regard that they actually went to this much effort to fix a problem that wasn't genuinely their problem.
He
Almost as if they have a heart. I don't know. It's weird.
he must have really done some horrible things, or like you just
He did.
mentioned. Yeah. Facebook has some kind of heart. I mean, eventually, between Google and Facebook and all these other tech companies, somewhere deep in the bowels of these tech companies, there has to be a human. You're right, and I'm glad that they caught the guy. What this means for the average user, of course, I think that, I think the average user doesn't do this kind of thing. So these kinds of measures aren't really going to affect them.
And Facebook is a private company, so surely they have the ability to do this if they want to, I guess. I don't know. Do they? Do they have the right to hire someone to hack you? I guess that the hacking in and of itself was done by the FBI. The tool was developed and handed over to the FBI by a third party. So the people doing the hacking was the FBI. So that's legit. Developing the tool, I don't think, is illegal. And as far as the terms of service go, I mean, Facebook, I'm sure, has in their terms of service that if you do terrible things that they can disconnect you, but they in and of themselves didn't hack this guy. They just happened to create a tool or pay for a tool to be created that just happened to
and so the ethics of it are, if it's not wrong of them, if they did nothing wrong, why did they use a third party to go between Facebook and the FBI? Why did Facebook sell this tool that they developed to an intermediary who then sold it to the FBI? I brought up Apple way at the beginning because there were the terror attacks that back in 2015, 16. It's been so long ago. The couple in California who did what they did, and Apple.
Right.
Apple wouldn't, get the FBI into their phones because they said,
Right.
well, first of all, they couldn't, and second of all, they wouldn't. And the FBI decided to purchase some hacking software from an Israeli company, and they were able to get into the phones that way. And hey, I don't know everything about the legal system. I guess if they uncover the information, even by hacking the phone, then it's completely fair game, I assume. But yeah, this is not this is not unusual for the FBI to hire third parties to get tools to get information that the companies themselves would not give over. And it's
and Facebook's involvement in it is what makes it interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess developing this tool, I wonder if Facebook is going to be the next great machine to be out there churning out all this hacking software. But
I doubt it.
I doubt it as well. So this particular case, and of course, this use case, I think they chose a very good first. I don't want to say victim because clearly he's a very, very bad individual. But they chose a very good first target for the software. But I think it's also this kind of outline that they can use if this ever happens again. If someone is causing so many headaches to so many people, they can then use this all over again. And hey, this is and I'm clicking this link here, a booby trap video. Did they mention how this was actually? Yeah, I know that it grabs their IP address even if they're using a VPN, but do we know how it was actually booby trapped or anything like that? Or
I don't know the details of the booby trapped video. There's some vulnerability in videos that were sent in a particular way that allowed them to find the IP address of it. And I don't know the technical details of how that happened.
NIT. So when the gentleman viewed the video containing the NIT on a computer the NIT disclosed the true IP address associated with the computer used by the perpetrator. So it looks like the NIT. I am unfortunately not familiar with that
network investigative technique. Yeah, vague
It's
name
very vague.
for a.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's not a specific tool. It's just like
Yeah.
a category of tools.
Yeah. Yeah, so authorize the use of a network investigative tool that obviously Facebook themselves, created. So, hey, I guess it just goes even lower in the system than the VPN. I guess kind of runs because the VPN, of course, you kind of reroute everything through, and I guess it has some
Right.
way to actually get even lower into the system priority to the point where it detects what computer you're actually on and not just the virtual machine. Very
Pretty
interesting story.
and
Yeah.
scary because a lot of other people use that same operating system. The Tails operating system is known for security, and there are journalists and people in government and security researchers who use that because it's well known to be a really secure operating system. And of course, as we know, nothing is 100%. But this was not a known vulnerability before this happened, and so those people who felt very secure in it now are aware that there is an issue.
So the only way that he was actually caught was by him, I guess, kind of messing up. He clicked on a link that I'm glad that he did because he was caught because of it. But if you're looking to remain anonymous and you're doing that kind of thing, if you're a journalist, if you're anyone trying to do this for legitimate purposes, clicking links is actually one of the most dangerous things that you could do. Because hey, you don't know what that link actually contains. It's why whenever I email Mike, on his email, there's a big yellow text at the bottom saying, "Hey, this email came from outside the organization. Don't click on this link." And then he sends me about a dozen links to do the show. So, yeah.
And that's actually a warning to me. So whenever
Right.
anyone in my organization gets an email from outside of the organization, it has that little warning there to let them know.
Right.
And that's just best practice for a lot of organizations, because we've had a lot of customers where you get an email that claims to be your manager and says, "Hey, I need you to run out and buy me some gift cards and send me the codes right away." And I've had customers who've fallen for that, who've had employees who fell for that. And so then we just set that up by default now. So if you get an email with that at the bottom, it didn't come from internal, even if they set their from address to look like it.
Yeah. And I'm surprised that hey, we need you to run out and get $1,500 worth of Subway gift cards and send me those codes right away. I'm surprised that didn't ring any ring any bells. But there you go. So you said that this one actually kind of draws a parallel to eBay, and what happens here with this story, and I unfortunately did not get a chance to to kind of look over the stories beforehand, but eBay port scans visitors' computers for remote access programs. What's the point? Why? What's happening?
Right? That's a good question. So last I heard, eBay hasn't made an official response to this, but pardon me, losing my voice here a little bit.
You're good.
Sorry about that. But what some security researchers discovered is when they were visiting eBay's website, that eBay was actually running a port scan on their computers for various ports regarding remote access, like VNC and tools similar to it, RDP, which should never be open to the internet, by the way, 3389. And exactly what they're doing with that information is as of yet unknown. We kind of suspect that what they're doing is just trying to keep an eye on bot activity, that if there's people who have bots running to bid on different items and pull the price up, using automated tools, that maybe this would help indicate those, but it's not real clear. I mean, it's an interesting set of ports that they're checking. TeamViewer is another one, AnyDesk is another one, and it's you don't always get all the ports scanned every time you load a page there. It's just sometimes some of them, and I think the only thing you can figure is they're trying to find computers that are hacked or likely to be hacked. But exactly what they're doing with that information, I don't quite know.
Yeah, and just a little bit of digging, they said that this is typically used for by penetration testers to see if there's any way that they can get into a system. If, like you said, any of those ports are open, they aren't locked down, and in general, it's either used for by a security company or by hackers who are looking to get into that. And hey, in this day and age, what are they doing with that data? First of all, like you said, why are they collecting the data at all? Second of all, what are they doing with the data? Because if that fell into the wrong hands, boy, that would be such a nifty Excel sheet to have if you were looking to create your own
Oh
little
man,
botnet.
I hadn't thought of that. That is a good point. That is a really good point, actually. And
I can only assume that they have to be storing it, because then they have to
of
compare
course,
compare it
what
to other.
uses to get? Yeah, why would you gather data that you're not going to store? And you're exactly right. They're going to try and find patterns in it and discover, hey, this computer that has these 3 ports open, is suddenly bidding on all of these things. And apparently eBay has made a statement. I'm going to read you the complete statement
Sure.
here. Our customers' privacy and data remains our top priority. We're committed to creating an experience on our sites and services that is safe, secure, and trustworthy.
Please go on. I wasn't going to interrupt.
So
I know that is the whole statement by eBay. Very boy, I think they have their own robot to respond to these kinds of investigations. That is very concise and not helpful at all. Privacy and data remain our customers' privacy and data remains a top priority. That would be why they're collecting it. And like I obviously, with the kids, the house, the business, and everything that's going on, and I know that you are keeping up to date on all the latest video games and kind of little controversies that happen in video games. There is a new video game called Valorant, just released a little bit ago. But one of the problems with Valorant is that it downloaded a second program in the background. It's an anti-cheat system, and it's essentially spyware. You download it in with the game, like it comes with the game package. You can't choose to download it or not download it. You can't stop the process, because if it's not running in the background, then you can't play the game altogether. And I'm trying to find the name of it. It's like VGK.sys is the process that it runs while it's doing it. And again, it's to make sure that your computer is not running any third-party hacking, bot, aim assist, that kind of thing. And it's a lot of people took offense to it, because it tracks every process being run on your computer at all times while you're playing the game, even if they have nothing to do with the game that you're playing. And a lot of people see that as an invasion of privacy. Obviously, the company sees it as a way to make sure that no one is cheating the system, no one is gaming the system.
Yeah, and that's exactly what eBay is doing here, right? They're trying to make sure no one is cheating the system, and you wouldn't want to use a system that a lot of people are cheating. It's no fun to play games where people are cheating, and it's no fun to bid on items where people are cheating. So I can understand it from that perspective, but it is that gray line of where is it okay and where are you crossing that line.
I think where it's not okay is when, it took an article like this from Bleeping Computer, who I think pulled it from, let's see, I think it was, they have the link to the original article. Null Sweep is who first reported it. The line is where it took Null Sweep, or it took Bleeping Computer to break the story, for all of us to actually learn about it. It's not even the courtesy of one of those 20-page documents that we all just hit I accept on. No, this happens in the background, and obviously, if someone who was running bots read that 20-page document, then they would know what they're doing and how to evade it and that kind of thing. They had to be surreptitious, but
and I'm sure it says in their terms of service something very vague about that they, have the right to be able to, check your system for, vulnerabilities or something like that. I imagine that they put something in there that by using their site that you're permitting them to do it. But as you said, no one reads that.
Yeah,
and it was probably in very vague language. I have to bring up the eBay terms of service here, but
I think I remember, and I don't think it's been overturned because I keep a pretty close eye on those kinds of stories. But I think judges have ruled that terms of service are not actually legally binding. If someone were to take offense to this for some reason and they had enough money and time to waste to sue eBay, I mean, hey, they could do that. I don't know if they win or anything like that, but I'm just saying that eBay doing this, if this is how they're making sure that bots don't get in and ruin the place, because I know that when it comes to botting, that could definitely ruin a site like eBay. There has to be a better way.
And it's been a big problem in the past.
Yeah. For sure. And
the biggest concern is exactly what you pointed out. If this data exists somewhere, how much do you trust eBay to hold it?
Yeah, and hey, you didn't even know that they were holding it. So even if you don't trust them, you didn't even know it existed in the first place. So I can see how Facebook and this kind of relate. It's companies, they're taking security into their own hands, either through creation of these third-party tools or creation of these tools, or eBay scanning ports and trying to find, kind of patterns in the ports with bots and things like that. Really, if nothing else, Mike, this kind of shows me that these companies are just as clueless as I think, the average IT person would be to say, hey, here's this huge problem, stop it. And I feel like these massive companies who we think, even though you have all the resources in the world to tackle this problem, even they seem kind of at a loss for the best way to do that.
Yeah,
Seems like
I think you're right. Well, and maybe they found the best way of doing it, but it's just not one that the masses, I think, would generally be accepting of. Of course, the masses won't know what port scanning means, but it's just feels weird. It feels intrusive. It's not something that we've seen done before by just visiting a website. You wouldn't expect to get port scanned by them.
Right, and hopefully a lot of people out there, even if you don't know what port scanning is, hopefully you've checked all your boxes and set up your security settings on your routers and things like that, and hopefully they're all as secure as they can be. So we have your list of stories, and that's 2 so far. We're half an hour in, so we're making great timing. I have about another 10, and let's see, looking through your stories here. Yeah, no, you don't have anything about Tesla. So don't worry, I brought the Tesla to the table this
I was
this
worried.
month.
I was afraid you were going to kick me out.
No, that's cool. I am more than happy to chip in here. Though, I have a couple stories I wanted to touch on before we get to Tesla or even some of the other ones you brought. The first one, and we'll just touch on this quickly. Mike, have you heard about people in the UK in particular? Boy, that was my favorite story of the other week. People in the UK are burning down 5G towers, and mostly mobile 5G towers, because they aren't really installed yet.
Yes, I have heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, so people are out there, they're vandalizing 5G towers because of this conspiracy that 5G is weakening people's immune systems, which is making the COVID-19 pandemic, or I think at this point it's even evolved to the point where they say coronavirus is caused by 5G. I don't know.
Yes, I've heard that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know what the stupidity there is, but I got to say that this person, this is from the Register, plays stupid games, wins stupid prizes. UK man gets 3 years for torching a 4G phone mast over 5G fears. They all look alike.
It's hard to tell.
I guess. Yeah. So this gentleman, 47-year-old from the UK, was convinced that obviously 5G was directly connected to COVID-19. And the article, that's all the information you really need to know about this article. The gentleman's a nutter, but I find these things humorous. Obviously, destruction of property, bad. People getting hurt, bad. This link with 5G and any bad health effects, just continues to shock me to this day.
It's strange. It's very strange, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know exactly how this comes to be, other than everyone's always afraid of new technology and new things whenever it comes out, and no one likes change and is always suspicious of it. I don't know, man. It's such a weird thing. And even before the coronavirus came out, there were all these things about 5G and how it used nano waves and how it's bad for you. And it's like,
and I have a lot of guests here on the show. Most of them, kind of C-level executives and things like that. I'm not saying that I have the most private Skype, kind of friends list, because that's how we would, kind of talk to people for the show here. And I would, I never, after someone's here on the show, we talk to them every couple of months, see if they like to come back on, blah, blah, blah. One gentleman messaged me about a week after, and I could have sworn his account was hacked, and he was spreading these weird links with these weird. I was like, he's been hacked. I got to let him know. No, he was completely serious. That he sent me after he was on. He was a CEO of a company, and he sent me a link to a story that I guess they were installing new LED lights in the San Francisco Bay Area. They were replacing the old incandescent lights with LED lights, and he said that and he said that the LED lights were causing memory loss and things like that. I think higher rates of cancer. How LED was bad, and then of course a couple weeks later, the 5G conspiracy theories came out. This gentleman really subscribed to all of the crazy stuff, and he works in tech, like I don't want people to think that this is everyone. Like this is a very, very big problem. It's a small problem, but it's a very generalized problem. I think people all over the world, all different ideologies subscribe to this. It's don't spread it, folks. I guess that's my big point in all this.
Yeah, I mean, and it's always the trouble with anything like this, or even when you get into political things, is where you trust your source. It's this conspiracy theory mentality that I think a lot of people like to feel like they have the in information and that they know more than the masses about a particular subject. And these conspiracies pop up where, I don't know. It's difficult for me to fathom.
I've seen the 5G things, and I've seen where they get their sources. They're like humans are electrical beings, and 5G is an electrical signal with waves that go throughout your body, and they're doing this. And Mike, you obviously deal with wireless signal and connectivity for your clients all day long. First of all, you must be bombarded with 5G. Your body must be brimming with 4G and 5G.
Right.
But here's the thing.
I glow at night.
Yeah, exactly. It's beautiful. But I got to say that's kind of my point, is that 5G has a real problem penetrating objects, be it walls, be it human bodies, be it whatever. 5G is just not as, like, it can hold a lot more data and transfer a lot more data. It's just not very good at penetrating these objects. That's why that's why we need, was it 6 to 8 times more 5G towers than we did 4G towers? It's just not very good. And I'm like, if people
that's a good point. Yeah.
If people had these concerns about 5G, why didn't they have them about 4G? Because 4G can get through a human body much more effectively than 5G ever could.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, in either case, you don't want to stand next to the antenna. I've been at cell sites before, and they have, the signs everywhere that, for the workers not to be in front of the antenna. You don't want to be, within a couple feet of it. Just like a microwave. You want to be on the outside of the microwave, not on the inside.
You don't want to crawl in there and watch your food cook.
I mean, energy waves can do bad things, but, this stuff's been pretty widely tested. It's not a sudden change. It's not there's no evidence. Like,
I've seen otherwise rational people, unfortunately, take the stance that, they say 5G, it's new technology. We don't know all the health, risks that are associated with new technology. The years down the road, we could find out it does X, Y, Z. And I want to pull my hair out. I want to scream, because that's, these things are tested many, many, many years before it's ever implemented. These companies don't want to spend $100 billion on infrastructure changes just to find out that, the technology doesn't work, or, hey, causes everyone to die. They're tested for, the past 10 years. And I hate that when people who are not familiar with it, they just kind of go, hey, it might, we don't know yet. That's infuriating, because we do know 5G is perfectly safe, and to how they are using it, it is safe enough. So there you go. Okay, so that aside, taking that whole thing, ladies and gentlemen, don't burn down 4G, 5G towers. There you go.
Burn down the 3G towers.
Yeah, those things are awful. But I got to say that, let's see. So one other story I think we can touch on real quick. And I have good news, and bad news. Yeah. So the good news is internet speeds around the world are increasing. That's great. The average internet speed across the world globally increased.
I like good news.
Definitely. And the second good news, not as good news, it has increased in the United States. So that's good.
Oh, okay. I thought that was going to be the catch.
But the bad news is that the U.S. is, well, now the 11th ranking internet speed in the world. Not even the top 10 anymore. So there you go. Let's see. So Singapore.
To be fair, the U.S. is big.
That is a very good point.
I didn't know if you were aware of that. I just wanted to point that out.
I did see a globe, and it took up a lot of space. So that explains that.
Also, speaking of conspiracy theories, the globe. Well, anyhow, we'll get into that later.
I know the Earth is flat, but so here on it, just to kind of point out here, let's see. So notable rankings include Canada, Japan, Australia, Norway, Finland, Hong Kong, Thailand, Switzerland. They've all been consistently top performing when it comes to internet speeds. And actually, much like you pointed out, Mike, is that Norway, Finland, Japan, Hong Kong, Thailand, Switzerland, Singapore. Very, very small countries.
Easier to run fiber to cover 99% of your population if you're that condensed.
Especially, places like South Korea, which, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to include this in the show notes if you want to check out after, speedtest.net. They've actually been on the show, and they love sharing, these kinds of charts. And check this out. You can see here the number one country when it comes to broadband speed, the average broadband speed, Singapore at 200 megabits per second. Mike, I don't know about you. I think we have like 200 here at the studio. I'm very happy with that. But I know that I'm on the higher end of that. I don't know what you see in your day-to-day or what you kind of experience. 200 is not the typical.
No, certainly not. No, around here, we're lucky if we can get 40 in some places. And then we have other customers who are really out, in the boonies and the farmlands around here in Pennsylvania. And sometimes they're lucky if they can get 5 or 10. I mean, it varies a great deal. Fortunately, our office in Hagerstown, we actually have gigabit fiber into the building. So we've gigabit up and down.
Wow.
But that's unheard of. It's amazing. I had a customer recently who had gigs of files that they had to upload and asked if they could come into our office. And I said, well, go to our Hagerstown office. And they texted me and said, this internet's insane.
It really is a game changer. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But I mean, it's like 100 times faster than what the typical person has around here.
Well, hey, and speaking of typical, this according to obviously the same report, United States, you're looking at right here, it says the average broadband speed. So I guess the numbers can be skewed a little bit. If you're not on broadband or what is considered broadband, you are excluded from this survey. So if you have dial-up, if you have DSL, heaven forbid, if you have anything less than, I think broadband was recategorized from like 40 down to 25 megabits per second. If you have less than 25 megabits per second, you are excluded from this research. So 124 is United States, which is honestly pretty good. But like I said, that probably does exclude a good amount of people who don't live in cities or at least in the surrounding area around major cities.
It's interesting. So can I switch topics real quick?
Go for it.
So one of the stories I sent over is Cox, the well-known cable and internet provider, is slowing down entire neighborhoods because one person is using an awful lot of bandwidth. And they are making the argument. Let me find the quote here. This kind of ties into what you were saying. They said, and you might actually have some insider information because, Mike, the customer was identified only as Mike. I'm just saying.
And they had 100, and they had a gigabit service. All the dots are really connecting.
Never mind. Let's move on. I'll have you know, I live in Comcast area, not in Cox area, unfortunately.
I always refuse to tell which area, which one service provider has a monopoly in my area because I bash them on the show all the time, and they really do suck. But
that's very wise, actually. Where I live, I can only get Comcast. There's not even DSL available in my neighborhood. I'm too far out for DSL to connect, so they have a monopoly here completely. Like you
could always get satellite, I guess. Satellite internet?
Is that really an option though? Anyhow, no. So what was interesting from Cox, this is their statement. I'm going to quote them here. It says 10 megabytes per second is plenty of speed for the vast majority of customers to continue their regular activity and have a positive experience. I just thought that was an interesting. And what was the line for broadband?
Broadband was 25 megabits per second. That is,
and I think that's more than
defined. 10. Yeah, no, actually, it's the other way around. 25 megabits, and it's funny because obviously the FCC, changed helms. They actually dropped it down from 40 megabits per second down to 25. To help broadband companies, meet that low threshold.
Right. And Cox is like, well, I think 10 is good. So,
Yeah, 10 is
anyhow, so
plenty.
the story is that this guy Mike has apparently got this notice from Cox saying that he's using too much internet, and as a slap on the wrist, we've slowed down the internet in your neighborhood. Your gigablast upload speeds in your neighborhood have gone from 35 megabits to 10 megabits for your neighborhood through July 15th, and there's a lot of questions there. You know, well, and now that I read this a little bit more carefully, I might take back my previous statement. There, it says the gigablast upload speeds are going down to 10 megabits per second. I might
from 35.
Yes, I take that back. That's
I-
not terrible. I
I
would agree
don't.
with him that 10 megabits per second up is fine for most people.
I don't at all. That limitation.
Let's fight over it.
Yeah, that limitation on upload speed is something that our local provider does the exact same thing. You know, we may have 200 plus megabyte download speed, but the upload speed, and obviously doing something like a radio show, you need that steady connection, and you don't want to be hitting up against the top end of that upload connection speed all the time. That upload speed. There's no, when Google Fiber comes to town, it's 1 gig upload, 1 gig download. Most fiber is 1 gig and 1 gig. This limitation of upload speed only serves to limit the ability for people to share data. Like, that's why it exists. It's so that you don't run servers off of your home computers and pay consumer prices as opposed to business prices. I think 35, like, really, what does dropping it from 35 down to 10 really serve other than to frustrate an entire neighborhood because of one guy who, for some reason, is very religious about his backups?
Yeah, right. Well, and who wouldn't be? But but the real question is, why do they have to do it on a neighborhood level? Like, I understand I understand the cable connections come into a neighborhood hub and go out, but do they not have any control over the modems that are connecting in? Can't they limit it for him and not for everybody?
Maybe they tried that and he kept switching modems or something like that. Getting away around it. Obviously, if they do,
even if you have a third-party modem that you connect in, it gets authorized by the
you do have to activate it
for a speed. I mean, they send the profile to the modem that, here's the frequencies you can use, and effectively here's the speed you can use. They could have just sent a new profile to it. I don't understand.
It seems super lazy. It really does to do it this way. And again, I'm very much against the fact that they can give people gigablast. I assume that they have gigabit download speeds, and they're still throttling it down to 35 megabits per second upload speed. I think that is, just kind of horrendous. So with that being said, he says that the average US household isn't using 12 terabytes of data each month. And that's not just downloading terabytes. That's uploading 12 terabytes of data.
That's a lot. That is a lot.
But at the same time, I think that it would still average out. Even if you included one mic per neighborhood, I think an average network should be able to hold that kind of...
wouldn't that be a great world to have one mic in every neighborhood?
And on top of that, he says that he only does this between 1 a.m. and 8 a.m. Not exactly peak usage, kind of time.
That's a good point.
This seems lazy, and it seems like, hey, much like data caps, I think we talked about data caps when they were first being implemented across the U.S. It seems like a way for the company to just kind of, here's an unlimited service. You're using too much data in your unlimited data package. Yeah, and it even says that right there in the terms of service that the internet plan comes with unlimited data. There are no data caps, and yet they capped his upload speed because they felt like it.
Because reasons. And then it's interesting that suddenly during the pandemic, a lot of ISPs decided they don't need data caps. They started dropping them, which is kind of the opposite of what Cox is doing here.
They were trying to take a very compassionate stance, I guess, by saying that, we know that you're at home more often, we know that you're watching more Netflix, and we know that you're doing XYZ, so we're removing caps so that you can use more internet.
But the reason for the caps was because the networks couldn't support the high usage, but now that there's high usage, we're going to drop the caps. I don't understand. Could you go through that again? Maybe I wasn't paying attention.
Well, the bottom line, and we knew this from the very beginning when we talked about this, was that data caps only serve to, much like with cell phones and things like that, it's a way to make money off of people who they deem excessive. So it was a money-making scheme.
Yeah.
They dropped it for now. And I think that, if you sell an unlimited service, don't get me wrong. There was a Dropbox or Mike, you might be able to remember back in the golden era of online
Are you calling me old
storage.
right now?
No. Golden era happened like 4 years ago. Back in the golden era of online storage, I think it was Dropbox before they were acquired by Microsoft or whatever. But it was Dropbox, and they let you store unlimited amount of data on their servers. Most people, they used it as they would, but they didn't overuse it. Some people stored hundreds of terabytes on their unlimited account. And they said, that's when they started to put limitations. Some people do use it excessively. I just don't think 10 terabytes, even though that sounds like a lot to an average person, I don't think that's that excessive. I really don't. 8 to 12 each month.
Yeah.
And that's a 30-day billing cycle. Yeah.
To upload that much, though, I mean, if you're,
I am curious what he's doing. I am curious.
Now, how much? Why would you have 12 terabytes of data that you have to back up every month?
I am curious what he's doing. Don't get me wrong. I am very curious. What is that 8 to 12 terabytes that he is uploading every single month?
If you were streaming video up, if you were, a content creator, not streaming video down like Netflix, but if you were streaming video like Computer America up to the world, how much bandwidth would that take? If you figure,
well, let's see. Computer America, I can tell you right now, I have I store everything here locally in backups, super safe. But yeah, an average Computer America show that runs about an hour long, you're looking at about 400 megabytes for the video. Like, it's a 1 hour video, about 25 times a month. So that 4 times 25, let's say that's about 10 gigs. 10 gigs of data. Yeah, right. So this person, and that's for 25 hours of video, is about 10 gigs. So this gentleman is probably doing about 2,500 hours of video, and I record in 1080p. This gentleman is doing 2,500 1080p hours of video a month. I don't know what he's doing at all. That's crazy.
So, did you say 2,500 hours?
Yeah, 2,500 hours.
So, just to be clear, that's about 83 hours a day.
Hey, if that's what he's doing,
I'm just saying.
The only thing I could think of, that might actually use that much, if he has multiple security cameras and he backs up every single second of every single day. To an off-site location. Maybe if he has like 5 different cameras all recording his house at constant times, and he backs up
constant 1080,
all the video,
or 4K or whatever, right?
Or whatever. Yeah, that is the only thing I could think of, like a consumer application, assuming he's not doing anything illegal.
Right. But I'm well, and maybe that's, so security cameras is an interesting thing, because he says in his response that it's backups that are taking place between 1 a.m. and 8 a.m. or whatever. And maybe it is. So maybe he has, 5 cameras around his house that are recording somewhere, and then he uploads it into the cloud every night. That could potentially do it.
To him, if it all happens automatically behind the scenes, and it doesn't, obviously it happens when he's not using the internet, what does it matter to him if it's all automatic? And
what does it really matter to Cox if it truly is during those hours? And who knows if it really was? But if that's true,
yeah. Again, like most data caps,
but when it comes down to it, now if he's paying for a package that says it includes 35 megabit up,
unlimited
then what the
data
heck are they complaining about?
Yeah. That is all, just like cell phone companies. It's like, here's the service, here's how much you can use, and they say like up to, and then they say, how dare you use the service to the extent to which you purchased.
Right, and of course, all ISPs have an excessive use clause that's very vague that they can define however they want. But
so here's the thing that a takeaway that everyone out there should kind of think about. If you use the service to the full extent, if you find a way to use 35 megabits per second upload, for 8 hours a day, if you find a way to use the service that you pay for to its fullest extent, you will be cut off and you will be throttled. That is the takeaway from internet companies. Yeah, how dare you use what you pay for to its fullest extent? Don't do that. So, yeah, that seems to be the takeaway.
Yep, I think you're right.
Yeah, don't be that. So, and obviously that gets into, should cable companies really label what it is that you're actually getting and not what you quote unquote could be getting, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. Let's go ahead, switch topics to another story. Let's see. Hey, how about one that involves Tesla? That's fun. If you haven't noticed, we really don't cover financials here on the show all that often. Stock price aside, I think their stock just hit like $1,000 a share.
Almost.
I think that's like a first. Today or did it do that? Kind of.
Oh,
before?
It did hit 1,000. Wow.
Yeah.
It did just within the last
couple hours. Yeah.
Yeah, very recent. Yeah, like at 2:00. Holy cow.
Yeah, it hit $1,000. That's obviously just a psychological thing. That's not an actual.
Thanks for the good news.
There you go. Yeah. So they're doing very well, and they say that what caused that was that I think it was Nikola, which is a rival company to Tesla. They're making they're making semi trucks that are battery powered, and they're really the main competitor. And so Elon Musk saw that yesterday, and he's like, "Hey, wait, someone else has my limelight. I can't have that." And he said that the Tesla Semi that's meant for hauling cargo, and we've seen some of the demonstrations. Some lucky people have seen it out on the road. It's now ready for volume production.
So what does that mean exactly?
And what that actually means, and I apologize for that. Just one moment.
No worries. Yeah, so Elon can be a little bit vague in exactly what he means there. And you can never quite tell what Elon means, especially as far as timing goes. He's been known to announce that things are going to be ready at a certain time, and then there's Elon time where things seem to take longer.
I think that's where, and really, I think that's where these things kind of, kind of are different this time, is because they said that earlier this year, Tesla said that the Semi would arrive in 2021, not 2019 as originally planned. So they already said that by 2019, this would be out in production. And hey, now they're shooting for 2021. They said that, according to the email, battery and powertrain production will take place at the Tesla Gigafactory in Nevada. So they're working on it, and Musk essentially said, hey, let's get this going. Let's get this going, essentially. And that's why the stock price went up, is because, hey, they're going to start producing these things as early as next year. So they say.
Yeah, that would be pretty good. I would enjoy that. I'd love to see them out on the road, and I'm surprised the stock market would react so quickly to such a claim. I want more details before I believe him.
And by the way, this tweet came from Elon Musk 10 a.m. Today, and I think wasn't like 4 days ago Elon Musk said that he's taking a break from Twitter. Boy, I
missed that, but it wouldn't. that lasted long, huh?
Yeah, that was a very short-lived tweet. But this is the same gentleman that said that, hey, I think that my company's stock price is too high, and then like less than a month later, it hits record highs.
I missed this, and maybe you said it. There was a leaked semi-production email.
Yeah, and that was the email to staff.
I'm sorry, I missed that. I thought he was just saying on Facebook, "Hey, this thing's ready." I see, and I was looking through his. Not on Facebook, on Twitter. I was looking through his tweets here, and I saw someone tweet him saying, "Hey, is this leaked email legit?" And
did you send?
He just replied back and said, "Yes." That was the extent of his reply.
So again, just to lay out the timeline for everyone. Again, talking about the Gigafactory in Nevada, he sent an email out saying to get ready for the Tesla Semi get the Tesla Semi ready for volume production, which of course means start reorganizing your toys to make sure that we can produce these things, to start meeting demand. Don't get me wrong. I'm a little disappointed that the Cybertruck didn't come first.
In the message that the production of the battery and the powertrain will take place in the Gigafactory in Nevada. Most of the other work will probably take place in other states, he wrote, without stating where. And Musk has said that Tesla is scouting other U.S. states to build another factory, hinting that Texas could be a candidate. Oklahoma and other states have been campaigning. But so how quickly can they build this thing if they haven't even built the freaking factory yet? I mean, I'm not an expert at building trucks, but
I'm trying to think about.
This is the skeptic in me.
No. You should be skeptical about Elon. If we've learned anything, he says one thing and then tomorrow happens. It's one of these things, and I'm trying to think of the innards of an electric vehicle, which the Tesla Semi is going to be essentially a souped up kind of model wire whatever, and so you may have some experience with this, but other than the battery and the powertrain, obviously there's like the onboard systems and the wiring and things like that, but that seems to be the bulk of the vehicle, though, isn't it? The battery system and the powertrain, and then everything else.
Yeah, certainly. The rest of it's just the frame and the body, right? Which seems easy enough. And of course, you have the user interface, whatever type of screen they're going to have that's going to control everything, and the automation and all of that sort of thing. But I suspect what it is they're going to do the battery and the powertrain there, but the building of the frame and putting it together, the assembly is going to be elsewhere.
Maybe
but they need that elsewhere to exist in order to put the vehicle into production. What I'm saying.
Maybe they, hey, worst case scenario, they can call upon Faraday and they can, use their facility to.
That's such a shame.
I'm sorry,
it's not
Faraday.
a surprise in the least. I was not. Yeah, that.
I'm sorry, Faraday. That was a low blow. But there you go. And I got to say that. So, and by the way, since you've last been on the show, all of the hubbub with SpaceX happened. With the first American crew.
Did you watch it?
I did, of course.
It was awesome. I watched it with my kids, and it was really cool. And the docking. And I had no idea it took so long to dock, by the way. That was
17 hours, 18 hours flight time.
Oh, my gosh. I was watching. Well, that took a long time, too. But even once they got up there and they were lining up and all that, it just went on for hours before they actually opened the hatch and went in. I thought this was you pull in and open the door sort of thing. But apparently there's hours of checks and whatever. I couldn't even begin to explain what all they were doing.
Well, you figure if you bend one little pin on the space station, it's a heck of a trip to the store to get a replacement pin.
And I guess you want the compression to be the same on both sides.
Yeah.
And you gotta, who knows? And there's different
Mike,
levels of securing it. There's a soft secure.
I've bought goldfish before. I know that you have to put them in to make sure the same temperature, and then you put them into the tank. Yeah, it's same thing. Same thing as astronauts. Same thing as astronauts. You got to make sure they're all at the same temperature.
And if you do things too quickly and crack the tank, it's just not. It's not good.
And very expensive goldfish. And hey, but I'm glad that the astronauts in question, they went there. They, everything went well. The spacesuits look snazzy. I know that they
look great.
Yeah,
look kind of a sci-fi film.
Yeah, the old ones obviously are iconic, but the new ones, they look much more, I guess, kind of. I don't want to say effective, but useful,
maneuverable, and
yeah. So I'm glad that went well, and of course the thrusters were able to land on the ship. They have that down to a science now. That's
cool awesome. I just watched. I know we're out of time, but I just watched a really interesting video explaining why the footage of those things landing on the barges always cuts out at just the moment you wouldn't want them to cut out. You ever watch the live filming of those?
Well, yeah, and yeah, they just barely touch down and that kind of, and then I think it switches to like that long view, right?
That's exactly right. Just and there's conspiracy theories around that saying that there's a reason why it cuts out just as it comes down to touchdown. What it is that those ships are out miles out in sea, and the internet feed coming back of the live video is satellite. And the satellite dish that is on the ship that's pointing up to the satellite that's orbiting the Earth is fixed, and they're sending the data and everything's fine. But as this giant rocket comes down and is shooting fire out of it in order to be balanced, it's rocking the ship and it's losing the fix with the satellite. Yeah, it's rocking. And so they've come up with other possible ways of doing it, that they could send the signal, relay the signal from this ship through radio wave to another ship nearby and have that ship send it up by satellite, because it wouldn't be rocked from the rocket. But then you'd have to have more ships out in the fleet, and they just, but they do record it and they play it back later. It's just the live feed gets interrupted by it. And I always wondered why that was, because I've watched the live video so often, and I'm like, why no, why? Not that moment. Like, I wanted to see it touch down. Gosh darn it.
So that makes a lot of sense, and I'm
Does,
also
doesn't it? I thought that was fascinating.
I'm also surprised that there are conspiracy theorists who don't believe that they're actually doing this. You figure that
the Earth is flat.
Yeah, exactly. Just like the moon landing, so many people are involved in this. That must be one of the greatest cover-ups known to man.
Correct.
And,
Right.
And obviously Tesla. We had a story here that we weren't able to get to. A couple more casinos. Just talking about Tesla and really Elon Musk in general. 2 Las Vegas casinos, and let's see which ones. Was it the Wynn Las Vegas and Resorts World Las Vegas are seeking to be approved for the Boring Company and the loop that they're building underneath Las Vegas to be added to that as well. So that's going on. Starlink is still trying to get approval for 18 trillion satellites to circle the globe.
Is that
let's
the
hope.
official count?
Yeah, somewhere around there. But thousands of satellites. They're still looking to get into that. Elon Musk has his plate full, and I'm glad that he's back to his usual twittering because, boy, it wouldn't be interesting if he wasn't constantly updating us about, craziness. So,
He keeps
Mike,
it interesting.
yeah, and hey, speaking of which, ComputerAmerica.com and, of course, TechGuide.org, if you'd like to check that out, definitely go over there. I was telling people before, if they're looking to stay social, while staying socially distant, we know that you have a great community over there, and they're always looking for new people for, hey, just about anything, not just tech support, but friends as well. So everyone, thank you so much.
Stop by and join us.
Absolutely. And hey, techguide.org, computeramerica.com. Mike, I'm really happy you were able to join us here on such short notice, and I want to thank you again for being on the show. Everyone, have a great day. Thank you so much. And I apologize for bringing the dog to the office. Everyone, have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.